We have half an hour, so plenty of time.
Exactly, Alex. That's why I started recording, just so people know exactly how much time we have on the latest episode of the Strength Hammer podcast. Episode number, I forget, so I'm not going to say it.
112.
No, that's too many. It's probably like
Dang it.
7. Probably 107.
I was way off.
It's
It's
fine.
okay.
It's fine. It's okay. Alex, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. I am fresh from vacation,
Mm-hmm.
from an active vacation in the mountains of West Virginia, as we were discussing before the show. And I am back to full strength, back to working at full capacity after a much needed break.
Yeah, I can tell you got that mental refresh going. Like
Yeah,
you feel like you're clear in the head, which is great to see.
absolutely. It feels better.
Yeah, yeah. No, I've been actually. It's funny too because I've been having like thoughts too. Like it's the typical guy thoughts. I'm just like, man, I'm not doing enough. All right, let's look at like what's holding me back.
Sure.
Probably these few things. And it's just like that. It's like not even like a motivation, but just like, yeah, it's time to cut some of these things out. Like just to get to where I want to. Not necessarily like that I want to go far, but like I'm like these are the things that are gonna hold me back. Let's just get rid
Sure.
of them. It's weird. Like
Yeah,
it's like that guy switch. It just clicked on. I'm just like, okay, I'm done with. And one of the things is like alcohol. I'm like, I just don't want to drink anymore. I think I just
for a
want to.
season at least, right? Yeah,
Yeah, just like it's fun and I enjoy it and it's fun having that social outlet. But I'm like, no, it's in the way right now. Let's get rid of it. And
yeah,
just like it's such a weird thing. Like I don't know if it's and like let me know out there if you like. I think it's a very I call it a guy thing. I don't know if it is.
sure.
But yeah, it's just like switch, throw it away. It's like weird.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's funny you mentioned that because I was thinking a lot lately about busyness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how busyness is not necessarily a good thing, right? Like being productive and accomplishing things is great, but I felt very busy lately without necessarily being productive.
So you're
And I think it's exactly what you're
spinning your
saying is
wheels,
like
yeah.
exactly well, you need to like, hey, what am I spending time on that is not actually valuable that I can cut out? And how can I even cut some of those things out and find ways to rest better too?
Yeah, yeah, because like exactly, you have to look at like what's our I don't even call them bad habits, but just like what's the things that we know are holding us back, and you just gotta
Sure,
learn to adjust it. Like, but yeah,
absolutely.
that's fine.
Yeah,
But
very good.
well, that'll be a topic next week. We'll dive into like that type of thought process. But
I like that.
today we're gonna talk about our top favorite bodybuilders. Our god,
What?
no, no, our top god physiques.
Yes, yes. Top god physiques like Zeus and Jesus was pretty lean in all the
He
artwork.
was, yeah, yeah, he was. Oh, have you
Yeah,
ever seen the South Korean
the buff
Jesus, the
Jesus.
buff Jesus? That's a take. It's a take.
uh,
Yeah, but I figured
no, I'm guessing you're talking about other gods.
yes,
Yes.
gods of the old world, mortal realms, the what's the 40K universe? I guess it's just our universe technically.
Yeah. I don't know.
um,
40K
yeah, but
dystopian dark future.
right, right, and like I said, if we want to, we can throw in some on this little ranking system we're doing. We can throw in some real life bodybuilders because I think they could hold up
Ooh,
if you have
okay.
any, you have any.
Okay.
So
Sure,
that's
sure,
the
sure.
twist. That's the twist that.
Sure, sure, sure.
So let's tell you what. How should we do? Should we each do a top three, or do you want to do a top top ranking where we just go back and forth?
I say we start with the third,
Okay.
go to the second, and then our first,
Okay. All right.
right? Now,
That'll,
are we doing bodybuilders or are we doing personal preference physiques?
I guess we could do personal preference physiques.
Okay, good, good,
That's
good,
probably better. Yeah, because like
good.
there's some strong men I'd like to throw in this list for sure. So
Sure, sure, good. All right. I'll let you go first.
all right. So my third choice for best physiques, I'm gonna give it to Ilariel.
Okay,
Because have you
okay.
seen the legs on her model
She
for Age of
does have
Sigmar?
some good thighs.
She does
Yeah,
not skip leg day. All
she
right.
indeed does not. Uh,
I mean,
that's good.
I to be fair, like it's just those quads. Like man,
Yeah,
she could do a whole Instagram like quads like a Larry or whatever you want to call it, like that typical thing you sometimes see.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I feel like classic women's physique competitor for sure.
but just in general, she's getting plenty of she's hitting her macros. She's getting her
Mm-hmm.
sleep. I mean, she slept for how long? Like eons.
Mm-hmm.
So like she's hitting all of her goals right, and she is my third choice for top god physiques in the Warhammer setting.
Okay. Okay. I like it. I like it. I'm surprised you didn't say. Well, I'll wait till you name
Yeah,
your
yeah, yeah.
top three,
You're good. You're
then
good.
and then I'll give you my comments on what I expected you to say.
Okay.
I would say for me, starting off, very safe bet is Sigmar, right? Sigmar is, I feel like he is definitely the Arnold era. No, he's not a mass monster. He's definitely more of a classic
Mm-hmm.
physique,
Mm-hmm.
huge top, pretty lean, muscular bottom, big chest, broad shoulders, lean waist. Right, he has the beard going. I don't think he is a mass monster. Right, he
Mm-hmm.
came from a human, and the art we've seen of him. No, I'm specifically thinking of the art where he fights Archaon,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
He's not huge. He's muscular. He looks great. He looks awe-inspiring. But I would put him as my number three as just an excellent classic physique.
Okay. All right. Are we allowed to do? We're allowed to duplicate, I suppose, right?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because what's interesting, and I'm actually putting Sigmar as my number two.
Oh, okay, okay. Give
Um,
me your reasons.
because I look at all the classic art where he's more Conan the Barbarian. Like
Mm-hmm,
he's,
mm-hmm.
he's just ripped. He's jacked. Like I don't know how someone
Oh.
in a tribe, like I mean, he takes the humans from tribes all the way up to
Mm-hmm,
civilized society,
mm-hmm.
and for someone to get that strong and big, as in this, I'm talking like when he's immortal. Like I know, like
Yes, yes.
when
I'm
he's
saying
yeah
pre-godhood.
yeah
Yes,
pre
yes.
godhood. Like even though he
Mm-hmm.
becomes a god, but to get that much protein in means he's moving, he's hunting a lot. And since I know you haven't been to any of the U.S. Opens yet, but they have the replica of Gal Maraz, all right,
Ah, okay.
and that is a heavy ass hammer, all right.
Sure,
I can
sure,
hold it with one arm, but not as casually as he is, and he's like in his like teens, early 20s when he's doing those
sure,
things, like just
sure.
casually like holding it one handed like it's nothing. I'm just like, oh my goodness. Just because, like I said, he's got the physique of a god before he even becomes a god, and
Yes, that's a good point.
he has such uncaring, casual strength about him. Like it kind of reminds me like Superman in a way, where everything to him has to be an egg because
Sure.
he could accidentally just break people's bones
Mm.
if he's that strong to carry that hammer like that.
I could see that. It's
Right.
pretty good. And I like that you mentioned that he had a great physique pre Godhood, and Godhood just amplified it
Yeah.
to a 10th degree. So that's
Yep.
very cool. All right, very good. My number two is Grimnir, the
Ooh.
Slayer God. Yes, yes. I feel like Grimnir is an epitome of a power builder,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
He definitely power lifts, but he is also ridiculously ripped and lean,
Yep.
but also massive, right? I wouldn't say he's quite a mass monster, maybe, but he definitely lifts super heavy, but also is in a great physique, great shape.
Yeah. No, it's and truth be told, it's hard not to add a dwarf to this list. I'm glad you put one in because like their backs are just monstrous.
Right.
Like I mean, you're
Yes.
listening to the Gotrek series right now. Even way
Yes.
back in the original series, it's just like whenever someone's following Gotrek, they're just like, this is just a giant wall of meat in front of me. It's like always talks about just how broad shouldered they are. It's
Hmm.
crazy cool.
Yes, yes. I was actually because I'm reading all the new lore in the
Mm-hmm.
Mortal Lamps with Gotrek, but I was interested about the old one, so I went to the internet to find out. And yeah, like it states that even though Gotrek is only gets to the chest of Felix,
Mm-hmm.
he is significantly heavier than him,
Oh yeah.
significantly so, right? So it's very interesting to
I,
see.
I bet like let's just take Gotrek for a second. Um, I thought about adding him to my list honestly, but like he himself is just like I'm not a god and he doesn't want to be and he hates the gods, so I
Right,
refuse to
right.
add him to the list of gods, even
Fair
though
enough.
even though I think he's better and stronger than most of them. But I'm gonna say he probably weighs 350.
That's a good
Yeah,
guess. Yeah, because
that's
he's pure muscle, pretty much no fat,
yeah.
and massive.
Well, I think he has some. I think he has enough fat. I bet he's probably like 20%.
20%?
Yeah,
Okay.
I could
Hmm.
see it. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's. I mean, also I mean, we're thinking like it's a made up fantasy race of dwarves. So like I don't know who knows where he stores it. Like it might just be all in the belly
Exactly.
and the butt. You know, like
Who knows what their bone density is, right?
exactly true.
It could be ridiculously heady bones, right?
Yeah, he's just like they're actually made of stone and iron, and it's just like oh,
Yes.
he weighs 800 pounds. Like what? How are the KO ships
Well,
flying?
no, wild, especially with armor on.
Hmm.
But I'm excited to hear about your number one. I truly have no idea what you're going to say.
So it's gonna. This one might be odd because
Okay.
I said I don't want to add Gotrek to the list because
Okay.
he himself says he's not a god, but also
Okay.
he's very anti-god.
Yes.
This other
He wants to
one,
kill gods.
right? This other one, it's gonna sound really odd because we've never actually seen a full picture of the physique, and it's similar
Hmm.
mindset, but like since it's the opposite but similar mindset. But Archeon,
Okay.
he is
Okay.
not a god,
Interesting.
but he literally has had the like discipline is a strength, discipline of the mind
Mm-hmm.
to do what he's had to do.
Sure.
So
Sure.
he early on, he was a crusading knight of Sigmar,
Mm-hmm.
and then to be fair, he had that mental lapse, like like that not midlife crisis, but just like being young and getting caught up and stuff, and fell into that prophecy that and by trying to fight against it, he made it come into
Fulfilled it.
fruition.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he is strong enough to rise from that failure to be like, okay, this is my destiny, this is what I have to be,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm doing it my way. So he's had the mental discipline to destroy the old world, apparently destroy countless other things. I know you've read early Age of Sigmar lore.
Mm-hmm.
He's destroyed countless other civilizations and planets and stuff in the meantime because he was bored while the mortal realms were forming.
Sure. Sure.
And he's had the mental strength to keep going the whole time. And while,
Hmm.
yes, chaos is giving him essentially what feels like eternal life, he has not accepted gifts from the chaos gods. He's accepted them calling him the ever chosen, and like he's probably had some strength, but like it's mostly him. I like deep
Hmm.
down inside, like there's still like a true mortal in there,
That's true.
which is, and that
Hmm.
to me, like it's the like he has the mental discipline and mental strength to go continue onward. Even to, I
Sure.
love like whenever you hear him talk, he's just so tired of it. He's like he is. It's funny because he has done so much for so long
Sure.
and continues to do it that I feel he's truly alone, and he realizes it within the
Yeah.
setting because no one, not that he's trying to find someone, you know, to be his equal, because like Sigmar might be the closest thing, but for some reason they just want to fight. Um, but I think Archeon is past all of them mentally, and he's in
Hmm.
a place, and he realizes that there's no one I can surround myself with to make myself better.
Sure. Ah, I see what you mean.
Like
I see what you
like
see.
like you surround yourself with people and they create who you are, and
Exactly.
he's kind of lost right now because he doesn't have that, I feel.
Right. Because he achieved peak, right? And to continue growing, he needs to have challenges that are
Yeah,
he can grow into,
yeah,
but he
and
doesn't have that.
he's staying on the peak, but like
Oh,
right now, like he's manipulating the chaos gods, which I mean,
yeah.
Corn's got good physique. I'm sure Slanesh has good physique. You know, I don't know what Zincher.
Nurgle, Nurgle
Nurgle,
and Zeech might be,
yeah,
yeah.
we'll see,
Nurgle
but
probably lifts heavy, but I'm not sure.
yeah, yeah, but
Not quite
but
lean.
I'm gonna put Archeon up there.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a bit of a
Okay.
weird choice from everything I've
It's
said, but
interesting. Yes. Now, Archeon does receive the blessings of the gods, but he's not bound to them, correct?
um, essentially he's like, I'm not your tool.
Right.
He's like, I'll take. He's like, he takes the blessings. That's how he has eternal life. That's how he has the mount and
Right.
everything. But like,
Right.
he himself is not really corrupted by
Right.
like what other chaos champions
Exactly.
are. So that's, and like that, and then that's why I said like he's probably the purest of the chaos warlords out there. Like he probably has the least done to him. Like a lot of it's probably the magical
Hmm.
armor and stuff like that too. But
Sure, sure. So he takes Tren with no side effects.
pretty much, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, sign me up. That sounds great.
yeah. Let's do it. Chaos sounds
All
great. Let's
right.
do it.
So my number one option is much more logical than yours, I would say. It's kind of
Right,
like,
right.
oh, obviously it makes sense. It's corn.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
mean, look at every single corn model in existence, right?
yeah.
They are below 5% body fat, ridiculously muscular, ridiculously huge, both strong and muscular, right? So I mean, it had to be corn. Nothing else makes. I mean, you can make an argument for Slanesh for aesthetics, maybe, but as far as mass and strength, I don't think anybody can beat corn here.
Well, it's interesting because you know the way we're looking at it too. Like corn, if we really step back, corn is a bodybuilder.
Right.
Like I know they're just pure raging muscle, but with whenever someone's at the peak, like Seabum or Jay Cutler back when they were at their peak, they're technically
Sure.
at their weakest form of
Right.
that stage because
Right.
they're
Because they're so lean.
they're so lean that there's just like
Absolutely.
no fuel to really run stuff. Um, but it's interesting. But you can still be very strong as a bodybuilder, a hundred
Oh,
percent.
they're still way stronger than any of us.
Right. But like it's very odd. Like I've always had that like hang up mentally with Korn. I'm like, I don't think he's the strongest, but he's the best looking.
I don't know. I mean, I'm on the Chaos Gods, like pure physical strength. I don't know.
I mean, it would be interesting. Although to be fair, you know what? I could see it. I bet Korn. I bet Korn is this because he's got to be the universe's greatest power lifter. But he goes to a bodybuilding gym and he's made friends with them. That's why all of his demons look like bodybuilders because
Sure,
the
sure.
only artwork we've ever seen of Korn is him sitting down in his throne. And what do powerlifters
That's
do? You pick up the
hilarious.
weight and you sit down. So I think he's
That's
actually.
hilarious.
Does that make sense? Okay.
To your point, we do have Korn associated primarily with his throne.
Yeah.
Like I have not heard of Korn hitting much stuff, right?
Uh,
Or
he
fighting many battles besides.
Korn has swung his in all the lore. He has swung his sword twice. Once in the old
Right.
world during the end times, and
Hmm.
once during 40k. He essentially put his power through Angron to split a world or something in half. I forget what that was. It was kind of cool. So that's the only two times I can recall Korn actually moving. So and that was one rep. One rep, sit down. Wait a couple thousand years. One rep, sit
Yep.
down. He's a power lifter. You
Yep.
know what? You're right.
Long rest between sets. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's yeah,
I
incredible.
I am with you. I am with you. I'm back on board.
Oh, that's awesome. Good
All right,
list. I like it.
it's a good list.
I like your reasoning. I like my reasoning. I think we did a pretty excellent job.
It is. I mean, like I said, you gotta have some fun with it. Now,
Yeah, it's fun.
real quick twist here. Um, throw in one bodybuilder that we know, not personally, but like we know of, to sit on this list. Doesn't be don't need to be where, but like who would you take? Like say a bodybuilder, strongman, powerlifter, to be one of the strongest. Like if you said, you know what, you're God in this setting now, you'd be like, yeah, they'd be one of the strongest.
It might be a cop out, but the first thing came to mind was Ronnie Coleman, right?
Nope, it's a good call.
And the reason for it is, obviously Ronnie had some health issues, right? But I feel like if he ascended to godhood, he would be in his peak form again,
Yep, yep,
and
100%.
I would love to see that. And I think I don't know. I think he would be a god of order.
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, good
I
call. Yeah.
think God of Order, but more on the neutral side. Not quite Sigmar level, but
I
maybe like a dwarf.
see. I'd see him more as like just the human, potentially style
Okay,
god, but I could see the dwarf.
okay,
I'm gonna throw out one that I think would be a dwarf 100%. It's a strong man, Big Z.
okay.
I
Yes,
think he
yes,
would be a
yes.
dwarf. He's still incredibly strong. One of the most all time decorated strongmen out there.
Hmm.
I think he would be absolutely insane in the setting, and I think he would he'd be best friends with Gotrek, obviously. You know what I mean?
Absolutely,
Um,
absolutely. I'm sure they would have a grudge there somewhere, but
I mean,
yes.
yes, yeah, at some point, yeah. But
Oh, that's a good call. Yeah, the God of Shoulders.
yes, the boulder shoulders, or
Uh, very good.
he'd be the god of the giants. He'd be
Could see that. I could see
which
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. All right. Well, this was a fun, like I said, and
that was
hopefully
fun.
everybody kind of understands what kind of show this will be. This is just a fun show all around. It's just having some fun chatting with everybody. But Alex, we still have two more things to wrap up here before I let you go.
Yes.
How's your lawn?
Lana's doing great. Lana's doing great. The plan is to cut it Friday, and actually, as I've told you, you were invited. This Saturday we're doing backyard strongman games
Yep.
at
Yep.
my house, so I need to cut the lawn for that.
Yep. I'm sad I can't make it. But
Yeah,
prior plans, hanging out with friends, so gotta do it.
it's perfectly fair.
I was kind of
Yes.
hoping you would do it in the morning because I won't go till the afternoon. So it's like, oh, if he does it in the morning, I
Uh,
can make it. But you're like afternoon. I'm like foiled again.
yeah,
But
yeah.
you'll have to report back. Maybe send some pictures we can
Yes,
show in the next podcast.
absolutely. Would love to do that.
Um, and then any hobby lately? I know you've been on vacation,
Yes.
so.
Yes, most on vacation, but as I've mentioned earlier, I've been really trying to intentionally not be so busy,
Hmm.
just for the sake of busyness. So I've been actually using hobby as half an hour or an hour here and there, just to put some paint on, just to relax. I'm still working on the zombicide models because I'm not putting in like 6 hours at a time. Only really putting like yesterday I worked till about 8:30, had dinner, and after 9 o'clock, from about 9 till 10:30, just painted. Just put some colors on, put some fill in all the blacks, all the greens, all the
Yep.
blues. You know how it is. On about 20 models that I'm working on right now for
Oh,
Zombicide.
okay.
Hmm.
That's pretty good. Yeah. No, and I mean I'll talk about my hobby briefly too, since I'm not sure if Matt has had any who will be
Sure.
joining us on the other half of this podcast.
Very good.
Big M's is joining us. Um, just painting stuff up. So working on the Bretonian Force still. It's coming along very slowly because I'm not rushing it, but there's a part of me that just wants this army done.
Sure,
So because
sure. It takes you a long time because you're doing it as a part of a escalation league, right?
yes, and technically I've already yeah, Tale for Warlords. So technically I've already completed this month's commitment. So I'm working on another month out.
Sure.
But I'm just like, do I just but like also too, like there's it's weird, like the motivation comes and goes with painting for me lately. Like sometimes I'm just like, that's all I want to do, and other times I'm like,
Sure.
I don't want to be around this
Eh,
desk.
that's fair.
But work's continuing on that, which is kind of nice. So um
Very good. How many points do you have with Bretonians right now?
um well, if I put everything that I have, I'm probably around 22 to 2400 points depending on how I kit things out.
Very good.
Um but yeah, so like it's a full-size army. It's fine.
Yeah,
But
I want to give you a shout out. If you are not have not visited Strength Hammer's Instagram lately, you should go check it out and look at his ridiculously vast High Elf 8th edition army.
yes, thank you. That
It's
I guess
wild.
that's been actually more my hobby was setting up my armies to take pictures. That's
Sure.
which has been fun. Yeah, no, thank you. Like that was it was fun putting it all together, setting it up. I do have one more as time of the recording here. I have one more photo to post, which I'll be putting out
Hmm.
probably when this episode drops. Will be the Daughters of Cain army.
Yes, which is also probably your second largest army then, right?
I don't it might be bigger. Well,
Really?
we'll see. It might be bigger, but anyway,
Hmm.
you let us know in comments on my Instagram feed. So,
Sure.
but with that,
Yeah.
Alex, I know you have to go, so thank you very much. We will see you next week. Look forward to hear
Very good.
how your strongman games go. Sorry I can't attend, but hey, it gives everybody else a shot to win, right?
You'll be there. You'll be there in spirit. You'll
Yeah,
be
no.
missed.
I'm looking forward to seeing how it turns out. So, all right, Alex, we will see you later. I'll see you, the rest of you, with Big M on the other side.
Very good. See you, folks.
Welcome back. As you can see, Big M has made the appearance. We just and he's just hitting his microphone left and right.
Oh yeah,
He's just starting it off strong for us here.
I will do the show that the others will not.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, I didn't get to say, Neil scheduled a Age of Sigmar game on our normal recording night.
That's what you do.
Yeah, it's exactly what you do. Just because, Neil, you better win. You better win. I swear to God.
He's bringing KO. He ain't gonna win.
I know. Although, actually, it's funny because, not to spoil it, but there'll be a fun topic next week with Neil and myself because his game actually is helping get content because it gave us an idea for a topic. So it actually will be fun. But you got to harass your friends. Otherwise, why are you even friends?
Right, right. You're not real friends unless you give each other just no slack.
Absolutely none.
But yeah, there's. I mean, A, it's Neil, so he probably isn't gonna win anyways. But B, he's not gonna win even more because he actually messaged me asking what was the KO nerf that everyone was upset about.
Oh, he was not prepared for that one. Hey, remember that one cool thing you could do? That one really cool thing that you could win games with? Yeah, no.
I was like, hey, remember the one thing that you wouldn't shut up about?
Well, apparently they heard.
Shit,
Oh.
Neil's still having a good time.
Well, Matt, How you doing? It's been a while. I mean, you're on a little bit of a break from
Yep.
Big M's Power Hour, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. How's it going? You doing good?
Fine. Yeah, everything's going fine. Of course, right after I go on hiatus, they decide to announce a new edition of Middle Earth. So, oh well,
Yeah.
but I can't do an entire episode about just. I mean, I could do
You
an
could.
entire
You could.
episode just about an announcement. However, to save you 3 hours of your life on that one, I hope they give Rangers of the North elf bows in the next one.
Yeah. Matt hopes his army is better.
I mean, so I don't know how I do it. Well, first off, I play fiefdoms mainly, and that's
okay.
a fine army. It's awesome.
Please don't ruin Matt's favorite army.
Yeah, just keep fiefdoms. All right, just
Yeah.
keep them. But what I think is funny is like, so Rangers were the first ones that obviously I tried out because I love the Dunedain,
Yep.
and
But they're a lot. They're a lot to keep track of.
right. Well, so the issue is they are like heroes in name only. Like their stats are just like the tiniest bit higher, but they have the hero stats. They've one might, one will, or fate. Sorry. And so not only do you have to keep track of that, your army goes from looking at like a full 700 to 800 points is typically maybe, I don't know, 40 to 50 models. And if you go Rangers, you're looking at about 10. And there's no, like, one Ranger is not worth 5 dudes.
Right.
So if they can get 5 dudes into your one dude, they win every time. So what you have to do is you have to use Aragorn, who has his one free might per turn, to basically have them move along the entire border, corralling the enemy army and just shooting at them and hoping that you can kill like 10% of the army before they reach you.
That sounds exciting. That's how I want to play my war games.
Right. I'm like, it's basically the KO of Middle Earth.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do I keep finding them?
Yeah. To be fair, if you showed me the Rangers of the North, I'd be like, that's not gonna play anything like a shooting army. Like they'll have some shots, but like as they're coming in after you, you know.
Right. That's what I said. Like, make them a little better, bring them up a little bit. I mean, again, you do have Aragorn, who is like Archeon, essentially.
Yeah, he's just unstoppable.
Except for he's on a 25 mil base.
Archeon used to be on a reasonable sized base back in the old world.
I'm on now Archeon.
Now Archeon, I'm a big fan of Now Archeon. If you listen to the previous part where Alex and I discussed our favorite, who's probably got the best physiques in the Mortal Realms, Archeon was my number one. I even counted him on Godhood. Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, who's yours? Do you want ours just so you know?
No, I got it.
Okay, all right.
I would say there's I can't remember exactly which hero it is, but it's a Khorne model, and he's like leaning back. He's like going like this, and he's got like the pecs with the deep armpits and everything, and got everything all ripped.
What about from the gods or god-like beings?
Gods?
Yeah, gods of godlike beings.
Grimnir.
Okay, all right. That's what that was on Alex's list too. So can't argue it. Can't argue. I wanted to put Gotrek on there, but I think Gotrek would be mad if I said that because he does not like the gods. So
yeah.
Which
is why 10, 15, 20 years from now, Age of Sigmar, 10th edition rolls around. He's getting that Grimnir title, man. He's.
Oh, we're going to talk about gods tonight, as everyone's probably well aware. But I have to ask 2 very important questions, Matt. Though.
Yes.
1, how's your lawn? We have a lawn segment here. Is it good?
Great.
Nice and cut?
Great. Yes.
Nice. My lawn's still doing good. My garden. Listen, we're approaching autumn. I'm just gonna get my harvest and just get the rototiller out eventually and just tear it all back up. Once those pumpkins are done and ready to harvest, it's a lost cause with the weeding. I don't know what happened.
Like my hedges need a bit of a trim, but
wow.
I do them twice. I do them twice because I live on a dead end road and no one should be coming down here anyways. So once in the summer, once in the fall. That's it.
that's that's a good plan. That's a good plan. You don't need to overdo it. I usually trim about once every in the summer and spring. I do it for like all my shrubbery and stuff. So, but it's just because it grows so quick. Well, okay. What about your hobby? Any hobby going on lately for you?
Yes. I spent all day magnetizing all of my primed Marvel Crisis Protocol.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's good. Hey, are you doing just the usual sculpts, or have you dove into like the alternate 3D prints that I've seen people kind of do that just like do cool stuff?
I've looked at them. There's a couple that I'm interested in, but I do want to kind of focus on, official sculpts because I do like the company. I think it's Atomic Atomic Mass Games.
I think it's Atomic
I can't
Mass
remember
Games. I don't know. Yeah.
And I think they're doing a great job. I think Marvel Crisis Protocol is doing really well. I think Shatterpoint's doing amazing. I'm actually a little upset at how good Shatterpoint is.
I've heard nothing but phenomenal things about it. Nothing but phenomenal things.
I can't start another war game. I can't.
No, and it's like I know, I just can't either because like then we need terrain. It's because it's Star Wars. Like I don't want to play that not on Star Wars terrain. And I know I would buy models of like crashed X-wings and stuff and make terrain out of it, and it's just like that's a lot of work.
It's frustrating because they do such a good job with the starter set that you literally have a full table of terrain with the starter set.
Oh, really? Okay.
And you have I think you have 2 full armies.
I would imagine.
Right. I mean, it's
well, hey, listen, we're Warhammer. That's what we do here. All right. Maybe we'll do a Shatterpoint episode if we get stuck into it somehow. But for right now, we're staying resistant.
I don't remember if I showed them last time or not, but I finally painted up my Dol Amroth Knights.
Oh yes,
I think nice.
I think you did. That camera did really well with that one for once for you. It's good. It looks like we'll call it the first time.
Yeah. The only problem is I probably shouldn't have started with them because they're probably one of the best sculpts in the entire line, and the rest is where all the units they'll have the scabbard coming out from the side, and then the sculpt just goes up into the body.
Oh yeah. Some of those old sculpts are just mess the detail together.
I mean, these are 2002 models that haven't been replaced or changed.
It's fine. Yes. It's fine. Well, for myself.
Anyways, real quick.
Oh yeah.
You asked a question about Mark the alternate sculpts. So there is a Magneto sculpt that I saw that I really liked from C27, and then I also saw Captain Carter. I wouldn't mind using as a proxy for
Captain America.
Captain America. And then I also saw someone on Reddit the other day posted a giant ass Galactus and made up his own rules that looked really tight.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Have fun.
Right. I'm like, why not?
Yeah. I actually, to be fair, if I was going to do a Magneto sculpt, now it would have to be the X-Men 97. They'd have to do one for that because I'm enjoying that art style. I've not watched all of it. I've watched most of it. It actually became a thing where me and my friend Tom, we would play Warhammer on a weekend night, and we just watch as many episodes before I had to go.
So happy with that series, but
yeah,
if I went with an alternate costume, as much as I like that old retro one with, M because he might forget his name. But,
yeah,
someone who's actually wearing his name on a shirt as well.
I'm wearing an American shirt. This we will defend has the American flag on it because it's comfy.
The new Marvel Rivals Magneto costume, chef's kiss. If you haven't looked it up, look it up.
I haven't. I'll have to.
Pause the video, look it up.
I can't. I'm recording it. I can't.
Not you. I'm not talking to you. Not everything's about you.
Yes, it is.
No, it's your show.
That's why.
Unlike you, my name is in the name of my show, so it is all about me. But here on your show, it's about the viewer.
Fine. It's about the viewer. Viewers, pause, and let us know in the comments what you think of that costume. I did have some hobby myself to bring up, even though I talked hobby with Alex. That was early this morning, and there's been a whole work day and a breakfast, lunch, and a dinner in between that, and now me recording with Matt. So I forgot that I had, and it popped in my head out of nowhere because Mike from the Tale of Four Warlords show, right? Oh no, it's during the Bretonnia episode that I had an extra command squad for my Bretonian men at arms. Because he's like, oh, I have, what was he at 36? And I was like, I don't have 36 or whatever it was. And I was like, he's like, yeah, there's 2 commands and everything. I'm like, oh, that's right. So I got them out and I built and primed them today.
What hat is he wearing?
Oh, he's got a hat with a flag on it because he's the standard bearer.
Oh, when you flashed up, I was like, is that just one of those like Japanese rice patty hats? Is that?
No, it's called like a billet. It's like, think of like the old World War I hat, just made even more exaggerated. I think it's because the British, they got to do
actually
the British
it's kind of
thing.
similar to City of Sigmar's helms.
A little bit, yeah. They just have like it's close. I mean, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. And also, I had some things arrive today from the the UPS. I now have a second home, Matt. And it's blurry. This home does not focus. And because it's holding a bunch of other stuff right now, my hills, which I'm trying to get them. Fill for time, Matt. I need you. Phil.
My hills actually come in tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Actually, so I can't pull it all off. So I'm just gonna show everybody my entire backlog.
There you go. Ooh.
Because the hills are part of it. Because they're it's how I stack them. I stack it on my desk, so I stare at my pile of shame. That way it doesn't get too big.
One box of hills?
Yeah, they're one just piece. Like they're big. They're pretty big. There's 2 hills in it. Yeah.
That's not good. I bought 2 boxes.
Oh yeah. you did not need 2 boxes. I mean, there's only 2 hills in it, but they're beefy.
All right.
And also, my dwarves came in. I made to order dwarves. That was super quick. Which I only cared about this guy.
Yeah, same.
I don't care.
I mean,
cared greatly.
I do like the wing sculpt, but I have no use for him.
Yeah, no, I have plenty of lords and heroes. I've wanted that BSB for the longest time. I know you have as well. And then there was the other made to order for the dwarf thanes that had like 8 of them or whatever, 7, 8. And this is free advice for Games Workshop here. If you would have made all of those dwarf made to order sculpts individual, like I could pick and choose, I would have spent more money. Because I bought that. I'm probably going to give the other 2 to my friend Mark, who started a dwarf army out of nowhere, and keep the BSB I want. But if I was able to pick and choose of what I actually wanted, I probably would have had 6 dwarves here that I would have wanted. But I would probably grab 2 of those BSBs, But no, you did it the wrong way, Games Workshop. I know you don't like money.
Yeah. If I could have bought the BSB individually, I would have bought at least 3 of them so I could get another white dwarf and give him one, and then also another one of the dwarf queens or dwarf. Whatever the female dwarf was.
Yeah, Helga. I have one of her. I'm glad they came back out with that.
Give her one as well. Put her on some standard bearers.
Yep. Yeah, no, I don't know why they did. Like, none of the other ones I think have done that.
No.
I don't know if the molds are just all together, but even if they're all together, like, whatever.
Oh, speaking of, going back to Middle Earth for a quick flash.
Sure.
One thing that's awesome is they re-released there's a Rangers of the North and Dunedain. 2 separate cases. There's 2 separate sculpts, 2 separate rule sets. Previously, you bought them in blisters of 3, and there's 6 sculpts, and so each blister would have a random assortment of the 6. So I bought like 10 packs, and I still don't have all the sculpts. Now they've repackaged them in a box of 6 with one of each sculpt.
Well, that's good. That's an upgrade. Just fuck
then
you,
of course
Matt.
Right. Well, then they doubled the price and then doubled it again. So.
Oh well, there you go. Oh well. Well, Matt, let's head over to the main topic. It's gonna be a bit of a
Space
ramp.
Marine.
Space Marine 2, yeah, which is out. Everybody, no one's going to watch this podcast because Space Marine 2 is out, except for me and Matt. Maybe we'll watch it because we're getting the standard edition, and we won't be able to play till next week because I can.
Well, we just got to get through Friday. We do a little bit of painting tomorrow night, and then we have our get together Saturday,
Yep.
and then
Sunday's a relaxing day
Sundays,
anyway. I would, yeah. So we'll be fine.
and then boom. Before you know it, just then one more day of work. So, huzzah!
Well, yeah, play some Street Fighter. I'm still working through Pokemon Green Japanese, the version, which is I love it. I'm having so much fun. So I have
How many
plenty.
badges you up to?
I'm about to get my 6th.
Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty good. I think I'm parked right outside. I know, yeah, I just got the Fuchsia City, so I'm about to get my 6th. Yeah, and that's the riveting content everyone's here for. Which, but by the way, though, if you're here, you know that I talk about what I like. I just call it a Warhammer podcast. But no, we're going to talk some Warhammer now. So we're just going to talk just through the gods of Warhammer, because we had a quick conversation. It's like during that little Bretonian episode. And I think, Matt, you said, like, yeah, you don't really know much about Valia from the dwarves.
Right.
Because, like, you never have a need to. You weren't playing fantasy, and you weren't fully in depth with it like I was back when she was around.
Right.
So,
well, what's interesting is like, so whenever we've done like for last year for the Teyrathi, whenever we did fantasy and whatnot, I tried looking up some information to incorporate it into my narrative and whatnot. Nothing. Nada. So since you brought up this idea, I went on one of the wikis and I looked up. I changed my keywords instead of showing dwarf
ancestor gods.
Ancestor gods was like the key to the kingdom,
Yeah.
baby. There's so many more than I knew.
Yeah, they're ancestor gods because much like Sigmar, they are living gods. They were around with the people, and the dwarves remember them because they were flesh and body. So, it wasn't like the elves were always kind of like, yeah, we have our gods, we never really fully see them, but you kind of it's always like that sort of thing. Like a few of them would come down, but they're mostly separate. But the dwarves, the dwarves are the dwarves because of the 3 gods.
Right.
And there's a little fly on my mic. I'll just shoo that away. But so we'll ramble a little bit, but it's call this a mini history lesson. So obviously, there's the chaos gods: Khorne, Nurgle, Slaanesh, Tzeentch, and the Great Horned Rat.
Inishit.
What?
Inishit.
Yeah. We'll mention them, but like I don't need to talk about the main 4. We all know what they are. If you listen to a Warhammer podcast, you know what those 4 gods are about. But what's interesting, Matt, what do you know about the human gods from fantasy setting? Because
Sigmar was the warrior king or barbarian king with the twin-tailed comet was gonna show his coming, and then there was another one. I don't remember him.
are you talking about the god that Sigmar followed?
Did he follow a god?
Pretty sure it's Ulrich.
That's the one.
Yep. Sigmar worshipped Ulrich. Yeah, which guess an Ulrich was the making of the god. And to be fair too, I am kind of looking through some things myself because I know the gods, but I don't know fully everything about them. So
that just goes to show you, if you've been in the same position at work for a while, and that new kid shows up, really looks up to you, watch your back.
Yep. Well,
push him down some stairs when no one's around. Woof.
Well, to be fair, I mean, Sigmar's ascension to godhood wasn't really, Ulrich wasn't worried about him becoming a god. Like,
Sigmar should have been.
Well, Sigmar got
We
trapped.
could be playing Age of Ulmark right now.
I'm pretty sure Tzeentch trapped Sigmar inside the Wind of Heaven in the old world, and he'd just been there for so long, and that's why when people would offer prayers to Sigmar that he could actually answer them because he was able to tap into that power and give him some sort of divine energy through heaven magic. And then obviously whenever Sigmar returned, he was the incarnate of it. But Ulrich wasn't worried about it. It's just happened. But yeah, he came in. But there's also
is Ulrich is he more like do like the people of like under Karl Franz do they worship Ulfric as well, or is that kind of a
no it's Sigmar is
kind of a Kislev thing?
No, it's the main thing. So like Ulrich is, he's the wolf god, and he's like the maker type thing for the humans. There's still people that would worship Ulrich, more tall, like all these human gods, because and they all had a part in the making. So like Mor was like essentially the human god of death. So like all of these were also kind of like associated to different parts of just the human life. It's just Sigmar is the main one. Ulrich was probably the one that could be the most comparable to Sigmar, and certain places like Kislev, like they would worship him over Sigmar. They wouldn't not recognize Sigmar, but but then you had to pay like Shalia for healing. That was the human healing god. So like if you needed heals, you'd pray to her. Yeah, you'd pray to Sigmar in general, but like Mor was a god of death, so you'd pay tribute so the souls were okay and safe in the afterlife, because Mor would watch over the human souls in the afterlife. So they all had, what was it? Manon and Myrmidia. Like if you're traveling the oceans, you're gonna send you like that sort of thing. Kind of like think ancient Greece in a way. Without, I don't think Ulrich just had sex with animals to make other gods like Zeus did, but
sounds like kink shaming. Oh, we didn't do that on this channel.
I'll kink shame. I'm kidding. No, but essentially, so like everyone knows Sigmar, and like that's fine. But the reason I wanted to kind of mention these other gods is like if you look at Mor, like there is still hints in the Age of Sigmar of Mor. I think most specifically in the news, the Ruination Chamber, because Mor's symbol is the raven, because that's just it's dark spooky raven time. And if you look at the Ruin Chamber, they kind of have that animal aspect tied to them. Like Sigmar's the lion, everyone knows that.
Weird crow horses that I have no idea how I'm going to paint.
I like that bird mount thing. I love it.
No, so the big centerpiece model's fine.
Yeah,
but
he's fine.
Just in general, like I'm looking at the what is that? They put a Celestin on that stupid bird thing.
Well, that was one in the starter box. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's just weird. It's weird.
Well, it is weird. That's why I gave that model away. Well, no, I sold it. But yeah, it's what's interesting is like Mor would be the god of death. Shalia would be the for healing. I know off the top of head, but that there's Tal, Raya, Ulrich, Verena, Renald, Manon, and Myrmidia. That's the main ones. And like Harvest, they would all just have parts, and like they'd be parts of parts of the culture essentially. But we know Sigmar because we know the high level end of things. But I the one thing I do, like I said, I think that they're really doing good whenever they pull from the Warhammer Fantasy settings to help enhance Age of Sigmar. Yeah. And it always grinds my gears whenever they decide to just ignore something that could be such an easy, obvious connection that like someone like me who plays in both settings makes that connection, and they're just like, no, we just don't want to. It's like, well, don't be lazy. Like you're enriching your own story with it. But that's fun. Like humans are fun, but still, it's Sigmar. Sigmar's the guy.
Yeah, like you think they would have like, I don't know, some of the old high elf named characters show up as like models for Lumineth outside of Teclis.
We have Altharion. We'll get there. We can talk.
You got his light. He has light.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, he got handed dusted pretty hard, like really handed dusted.
So I always pick the left hand man.
That's true. Always pick the left.
There's now the left container. All right.
The other thing too now, so there is other humans in this setting, and they do have different factions. So, the Lady of the Lake, that's the Bretonnian.
What elf?
Well, I mean, just an elf goddess technically, but you know, they don't know that yet.
Spoilers. Sorry.
That's spoilers for. It's a decade now, Matt. It's been a decade.
Well, again, there's new Bretonnian players that don't know that. Now they do because of my big mouth.
Well, they're never going to advance the story in Old World far enough to be the end times for that revelation to hit like it used to.
Well, see, now what they'll do is they'll come up with like a King Arthur character.
They did Leon Lecour. He already exists.
No. I'm talking about like his name's going to be like King Larthur.
King Arthur. King Larper.
King Larthur, Pencil Dragon, and and he's going to make sweet, sweet love to the Lady of the Lake, and then they're going to have this whole half elf cavalry unit on Pegasus unicorns.
No, you're thinking you are stuck in Sigmar so hard because like in Sigmar, sure that could happen, but the Lady of the Lake, Lilith, had a lover in the Old World, and it was I can't remember his name, but it was the wood elf.
Merlin?
No. It was the wood elf nomad guy. Because and they had a kid together, and it was all fine and good. But anyway, so Lady of the Lake, Lilith, who's technically an elf god, is who Bretonnian worshipped. Actually, sorry, we kept saying Ulrich for Kislev. That's wrong. I'm remembering now. Ursarin, the bear. They like the bears because they are the bear riders.
The bird guy.
So if you've been yelling in the comments about that, sorry. Yeah, Ursun, he's the bear god. That's Kislev through and through.
We need to start making mistakes on purpose and running the entire episode with it, and at the very end we go like, "Oh, by the way, we missed it."
We should. We could do that. Did you know that the Tomb Kings, because they were humans too at once? Do you know they had gods?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ Superstar, right? So there's, I think it's Petra. Is I pronounce it the Ptra? He's their creator god. He's like their sun god. And what's interesting too is like they never fully explain the gods per se.
Part-time Ra. There you go.
Part-time Ra. Yeah, part-time Ra. They never really fully explain the gods. So just like like sometimes there's a corn worshiper out there, but they don't pronounce it corn. It's like Karn or something. I wonder if like some of these gods maybe were the same, because like some gods die off, like the god of death. I forget what that one's name is. Well, Nagash eats the soul and kills him in order to claim his power, which is badass because he was the incarnate. The other major Tomb King god, Nekharn, if you want to, their pantheon. Asap, the asp goddess, because you need to have that Cleopatra in there somewhere. And there is more beyond the old world, but those will never get armies, so we're not going to do it. But let's move on now. Matt, the dwarf ancestor gods.
Yeah.
Tell me what you know about them. Let's start there.
Okay, all right. So, Grugni's the main, kind of the patriarch. He is the one that bequeathed the dwarfs with the knowledge of mining and ore and smelting.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that brought them into the mountains during the big chaos kerfuffle.
The kerfuffle. That's a polite way to say it.
The chaos kerfuffle. I mean, if they want to use that, they can. I'm not trademarking it. It's fine.
Okay, that's fine.
And then he's still around and he's still badass, and he's gonna bring back his traditional dwarf army in Age of Sigmar, and they're gonna be badass too.
It is. And he is one of the elf, or not what the. God, I'm so stuck on the elf gods. He is one of the gods.
Wow, someone's going to the book.
He is one of the gods that has transcended as himself all the way from this old world setting to Age of Sigmar, which is pretty cool to see. Like, there's got to be so much knowledge. Like, I feel like he should be wiser than he is. like him putting up with Sigmar, I'm like, some point, buddy, you got to be like, hey, Sigmar, like, stop being dumb. Like, let's settle this and finish it, please.
I mean, when you start smarter than the other guy, you're like, well, I peaked and plateaued. You know, I would not have thrown my hammer at a trickster god. That's not.
Yeah. Here's this mighty hammer that has transcended to almost being like a godlike entity itself that chaos cannot even corrupt it, and it's just like, let me just throw it away. Even can I force summon it back to myself? Nope. No, apparently you can't. Okay.
I learned that Galmaraz was actually forged by Grugny's second oldest son.
Mm-hmm.
No, third oldest son.
Yep.
Or no, second oldest son.
Yeah.
Thorgy. Something along those lines. Fungi, that's the one.
Because he's the runesmith ancestor god, who's like very lesser known, obviously.
After my research, he's probably my favorite now.
No, he's pretty cool. And like I said,
Bringing up them runes.
Let's see, there's also Valea. Sometimes I call her Valia. I don't know why. Valea. She's the one that taught them how to make beer, how to heal, how to make a home, how to make fire, and she's also the wife of Grugny.
And Grimnir.
Of course, Grimnir, yes. And he's just the warrior god. He's your typical warrior god. He's the brother of Grugny. He goes out and wrecks the shit up. Like, he's the most direct, I'm solving this issue guy I know, and I love him for it. Like, whenever the Chaos Gate opened, like, Grugny's like, oh, we're gonna go underground. Valia's gonna, like, they're gonna do their stuff, and Grimnir's like, there's a door open. I'm gonna go close it. I'll be back. And he does. He goes up and he holds it for a long time until the end times happen. So those are the main three. Obviously, we know Grimnir and Grugny did make it through to the Age of Sigmar. But Grimnir is now shattered into a million billion pieces because apparently we can't have two dwarf gods. That's just too many. Well, we have the White Dwarf running around now. He's almost a deity.
Right, he's almost there. I would not be. Well, no, they'll never fully push him all the way up. They need him for their magazine, but I said, I do think in the far future, Gotrek is going to be.
He already is the avatar of Grimnir, whether he wants.
Right, he's going to go from the avatar. He's going to go from avatar to reincarnation.
I could see him being so stubborn that he just becomes the god, but he does not become Grimnir in any way, shape, or form.
Well,
and Gotrek just replaces Grimnir, and that's 2 more decades away when we get End Times Age of Sigmar.
Right.
I don't know if Games Workshop, the lore writers are actually I can't say this for certain, but based upon what the Age of Sigmar lore has done so far, I could safely say they're not brave enough to do major shakeups, like bringing another god into the fold like that. You know what I mean?
I mean,
it would drastically.
Age of Sigmar did bring in the 5th Chaos God, so
I guess, but
40K doesn't have those kind of cojones swinging around.
40K has Vashtar, who's trying to be the new Chaos God.
He's not going to be, because he's a model. They already got him a model. They're not going to make him a Chaos God.
That's true. That's fair. That's fair. You're right. Just to list some of the other dwarf ancestor gods, because I don't even know all these myself either. There's Gazul, the ancestor god of pretty much Under Earth.
So
tunnels. Do you know about him? Okay.
Yes, I do know about him. I don't remember his name until I hear it, but I know about him. So he's actually one of the most important dwarfs in all of the lore.
Tell me why.
The reason why is because he's the reason that the dwarfs, I almost said we.
That we go, yeah.
A little deep. He's the reason why dwarves worship their ancestors.
Oh, really? Okay.
He's the one that started honoring your traditions, keeping a book of grudges, the whole backbone of them.
Okay.
And so like he is, because again, like, so he's the dwarf god of death.
Right.
And so like his big thing is respect those that came before you, honor their traditions, carry them on as your own, blah blah blah, that stuff. And so without him,
Yeah, the core concept of what we know as Warhammer
right.
dwarves would be wildly thrown off. I'm kind of curious on this next one if you've read up on him, because this one is completely new to me. Skavor, he's the renegade ancestor god believed to have been responsible for the creation of the first Skaven in dwarven myth. What?
He is the eldest child of Grimnir and Valea.
So the myth is that the dwarves made the Skaven.
I don't know about the myth.
Yeah, I'm real curious on that. Like, I'm gonna look it up later. That could be a whole episode we go into, because that would be incredibly beautiful if that was true. Let's see. There's also Smebnir. Saying that one, that's a hard one. Smednir. He is the ancestor god of shaper of ore, refinement, intricate metalworking.
Okay, so he's the one. So whenever you see the icon of where it's like the most iconic, not iconic, but like the most stereotypical like dwarven face, all made of like a gold or a brass.
Yeah.
That's his symbol. He's actually the one that made Golmaraz.
Oh,
So
okay.
on top of that, he's also responsible. So he's actually more of like the smith god than Grugny is. So Grugny's like the, he's more like Zeus, in a way.
Yeah.
Zeus or Odin. He's the one that like, here, I'll show you how to get the ore, and I'll show you some stuff on how to make it. But he's also the one, Smednir. He's also the one that came up with the grudge thrower and the bolt thrower.
Oh, okay.
So his main focus is like weapons. And so he's also the one that like all of the legendary dwarf weapons, he's the one that smithed them.
Okay. Well, I'm guessing he probably worked closely with Thugni, who is the ancestor god of the runesmiths, because there's rune engraving on those weapons.
Right.
So that was like when I said Thugni, you're like, oh, he's the one that made it. They probably worked hand in hand with that stuff.
Right.
I would assume. There's also one of my personal favorites. I did know about this one because I'm the engineer dwarf, Morgrim. He's just the ancestor god of engineers. He's just like, I like tinkering. This is what we're doing. I believe he's the one that helped them with the black powder and all that sort of stuff too early on.
Right.
And of course, this also does mention Grombadil. I could see the thing with the dwarves are, because like their gods were real,
right,
and their gods had relationships and marriage and all this sort of stuff. Even though these gods were incredibly powerful, they were still very real and could die, almost die. Technically, there was ways for them to die. But granted, we didn't know that until the end times when the elves. Jeez, the elves. I'm always about the elves. When the gods started dying, like I said, Valia was consumed by Nagash, which I don't know why he consumed her. I forget. I have to go back and look why he's I think it was probably just for power, and she was just the closest font of power for him to take.
So one of the things I was reading about is that like something about her, one of like just her properties. There was no explanation for it. She was
a healer, so maybe she was healing some wound in him. Oh,
well, so she's also so anti-chaos that like demons and stuff can't stand to be in her presence.
Right. You know what it was? I bet he was. If I'm and this is I'll go back and look if people really want me to, because I love the end times. I'll reread it all the time. I bet he was absorbing her soul to heal essentially the failed resurrection he had, because the child of the Phoenix King and Everqueen actually wasn't that child. Because it was between Tyrion and Alariel, the Everqueen, so it was a failed reincarnation, we'll say. But back on point with Grombadil, what's interesting about the dwarves and the fact that their gods were real people, and the way we know prayer works, at least within the setting based upon Age of Sigmar more so, is if people started worshiping him as a god, he would gain more power.
Right.
Granted, there's been hints and stuff throughout various stories that the White Dwarf probably maybe did like he passed like he semi deity level going around, probably died during the end times almost fully. Grugni brought him back for Age of Sigmar because he needed to reconnect the dwarves, the Dalwi now, and he couldn't do it himself because they
He used to be Dowie, now they're Dwarden.
yeah, but oh yeah, Dalwi's a old name. Sorry, that was Dwarden. Oh my god, I'm getting all mixed up here with all my stuff. I'm trying to keep like old world, fantasy, end times, Sigmar. But I could see him eventually becoming a god himself, and he would probably be the best replacement for Grugni. He's not the builder of things, but I think he's the builder of
bridges,
culture, foundation of a unified, thing. Okay, anyway. So there is that.
So I do have to say one thing that I don't know if it'll ever really come to pass. But one thing I really can't wait to read in like the lore, like an event of occurrence of like that showdown between KO and Grugni of like, why did you abandon us?
Yeah.
And like just unloading on him, like, how dare you, blah 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 blah. And then like Grugni just sits there and lets it all out. And then when they're done, they're like, I raised you so you didn't need me. And I knew you'd be fine without me. I was needed elsewhere.
Yep.
And then they go, well, shit, now I feel like an asshole. Like,
yeah, grudges forgiven. That's exactly what it's going to be. I mean, like, honestly, if you look at the last end times, and we're going to touch about like the cyclical nature of all this stuff here in a second when we talk about the elven gods briefly. We had 3 elven armies in the old setting. Wood elves, dark elves, high elves. And they were originally one people and just split apart. What do we have with the dwarves right now in Age of Sigmar, the Dwarden? We have the
dark elves, high elves.
No, with
wood.
Yeah,
wood elves.
But with the dwarves, we have KO.
Wood dwarves.
We have KO. We have Fire Slayers, and then we have the more traditional dwarves, the Depossessed. And we've heard the rumors of their parties where they're coming back together.
In this edition.
Yeah. Well, it would be great to see them reform into one thing. And it would be great to see it reform into one thing without taking an end times level event, but it's probably what it will be. But
or the resurgence of a foe from yesteryear, the Dawizar.
Who worship Hashut. Let's talk Hashut briefly. He's a bull god. He likes magic.
And fire.
And fire. And industry, technically. That's the other thing.
Yeah. Industry. Trains.
He does like trains. Oh, sorry. Dark industry is what the Wikipedia says. Because there's light industry, yeah.
Slaves.
Yeah.
Big fan of forced labor.
Big fan of forced labor. That's how we have Blackworks now. Because they're experimenting on greenskins, made the biggest, strongest ones they could, because like, yeah, let's just use them for free labor, and then they escaped and began rampaging all over the world. We have a great army called Orcs and Goblins now, because the goblins just followed around. Good job,
I do
Chaos
like
Dwarves.
that we have something so, like, this is one of the things that I really like about the Warhammer lore, is like, you have something so quintessential to the central hub of Warhammer lore, of like these Black Orcs.
Yeah.
And where did the Black Orcs come from? Well, you have to scroll way over to find this little tiny footnote about Chaos Dwarves, who aren't even like a super supported army, and like, in somewhere in their lore they mentioned bringing about Black Orcs.
Yeah. And then the most well known, I should say well known. What was his name? Not Grumlock.
Grumgrop Kapopolis?
No. People are gonna
No, Gazgul is
it's not Gaz. Yeah, it's not Gazgul.
I like Grumgrop Kapopolis. That's should have probably put on your glasses.
I probably should have. Yeah, you're right. Because I'm actually reading this. Oh,
You had your glasses right.
I did. They were sitting right next to me. Grimgore Ironhide. That's the name. I was like, it's a G. It's a G. Yeah, Grimgore Ironhide was the escaped and started the rebellion. Eventually, yeah. Poor Chaos Dwarves. They can't. Well, I mean, it's their own damn fault. Look at them. They got big stupid hats.
Yeah.
But
Which, oh man, I just realized
what?
Conquest ripped that off.
I'm sure GW took it from somewhere too.
Well, so for Conquest, you have the Dweghome, which are the orcs. Or no, the Dweghome are the dwarves.
Hold on. Conquest? That's
Wadroon.
That's Matt. It's
Rune.
Conquest. I don't care.
Fine.
Nope.
So the Wadroon were,
Can I mute?
I believe the Spire made them.
Okay, so I've muted Matt while he talks about Conquest. So real quick, the Greenskins, since we were on Grimgore Ironhide, obviously worship Gork and Mork.
I can just turn myself back on.
You can.
So then,
I was ready to try and turn it back off real quick. So Greenskin gods, Gork and Mork, the twin-headed deity. Yeah, and what I do like, because even way back in the old fantasy setting, is they would split apart and come together, because one's cunning but brutal, one's brutal but cunning. And it's the same thing in Age of Sigmar. They came around. I'm actually surprised they came through into Age of Sigmar, because you could have easily just had Grimgore Ironhide become the new thing.
Yeah.
He was an incarnate during the end times.
I think people like the Gork and Mork thing too much to let them go.
Yeah, the reason I say like they maybe could have made the change, that's when they could have made that change away from Gork and Mork. I just feel they don't ever do much with Gork and Mork. That's interesting.
Hard to do anything with them.
I guess. And also there's the Spider God, which still exists in Age of Sigmar. I actually like the Spider God's stuff now, that they think the moon is a giant spider egg that follows them around. I like that. I think they really did. They gave a glow up to the Spider God, I think, in Age of Sigmar. But Gork and Mork's cool. Obviously Skaven, they have the horned rat, the great horned rat. Also, some of them worship Nurgle for some reason. There's this other one I saw too. Do you know about Queethul?
Are you allowed to say that on YouTube?
Queethul the Vile, an ascendant blasphemer. He's either this is where it gets fun with this one. Actually, looking at this, he's either the great horned rat, just causing shenanigans and blaspheming against himself because he wants to, or he's actually a rival of the great horned rat. You know,
I hope he is the great horned rat.
I hope he is too. Like, of course, the great horned rat is now alive in Age of Sigmar. The great horned rat was probably one of the most impactful gods, I think, during the end times, because he went to Skavenblight and said, "We need to fix this. This world's over. It's gone. It's screwed up, everybody. So we're gonna take Skavenblight, and what if we took it and we pushed it somewhere else?" And they're like, "Okay," and they did. They just attached it to the Chaos Realm somehow. They attached it to the Chaos Realm. That's how Skavenblight carried over. Now that Skavenblight's in the Mortal Realm, so that's the same city that was underneath the old world. But good kudos to him. Like he made it. He's the 5th Chaos God.
Really did it. Really got up there.
Yep. Yep. Ogres, they still have some gods too. I like their gods. Well, I like the one that kind of was left in the dark for Age of Sigmar.
Yeah.
The sentient volcano that they worship. That's where the fire bellies come from. They're like, oh, but our god breathes fire, so it's a sentient volcano that responds to them. So they call it Firemouth. It's great. I love it.
I do have to say, I would really appreciate if Ogres someday got a like a Pacific Islander expansion.
Oh, for sure.
That'd be amazing.
I mean, the fire bellies were pretty close to that.
Right.
Which bring them back in full force.
People really like Maui, so that's.
Mm-hmm. And of course, there was the Great Maw, which still exists, technically. in its own weird way. Because there's
Yeah,
multiple
nowhere.
mobs.
It's
There's
right.
multiple mobs that they feed, but there used to be just one
Right.
central one in the Ogre Kingdom's territory since the world was set and we had territories with maps and cool stuff like that. Um, but yeah, either it was some endless deity of hunger that they would just feed stuff to, or like even each other just for fun, or it was some warp stone crashed in and grew teeth in this giant hole and they just fed it and became a god to them. Either way, it's fun.
Which is really weird. You know, like if your whole shtick is that you're always hungry, why would you make a god that's even hungrier than you are? Like, I would like if I was an ogre, I would worship like Blorf the Stuffed, and like I'm just gonna keep eating to the point where I'm as full as Blorf is, and then I've ascended. Like,
It's true. Blorf the stuff. You Matt's new
put that one in.
armies.
Yeah, put
Yep.
that one in.
Um, we will end on the elves because I'll probably get slightly sidetracked by them. Because to be fair, I'm not going to go deep into the elves because they could be a whole episode themselves. But real quick, we got to touch upon the old ones. Now, we don't know if the old ones, like, they're called gods, but are they gods? There's not much known about them.
Maybe they're like capital G gods.
What?
Like all the gods we've been talking about, like lowercase g, you know.
Well, the old ones are the ones that set up the world.
Right.
They terraformed that whole place. They created it. The lizardmen have been around because they needed something.
You think the old ones are the guys they were talking about in Shadespire?
I don't know. Like, I'm curious too because like, are the old ones? Did the old ones come back to help shape the mortal realms and leave again? Because there was all that stuff before Sigmar arrived that was in ruins,
Yeah.
and the lizardmans are floating around. So like, it's very odd. But like, the old ones they're still a mystery, which is good. Leave them be a mystery. But
Yes. Don't leave it alone.
yeah, but the old ones made
or don't leave it alone, but don't answer it.
but the old ones made the polar gates because that's how they traveled because they weren't chaos corrupt at that time. They made the lizardmen, elves, dwarves, humans, halflings, ogres. The only natural sentient, I think, beings on the planet at the time were the dragons, and they fought.
So the dragons weren't created by
The dragons had just always been there, and there was a war with everything going on because essentially the old ones came in and just like this planet could be useful. Let's do it, but it needs to be closer to the sun for habitable life to work for us. So they literally moved the planet. The dragons weren't liking any of this shit because they're like, this is our planet. Granted, obviously, things got worked out. There were some dragons that were fine with it. That's how the elves have dragons and stuff and such. But yeah, the old ones are just really interesting. I want to know more so badly, which means please don't ever tell me.
right.
Keep
right.
dropping hints forever on them. But also bring them back that you talk about them in Age of Sigmar.
It'd be hard right now. Like I feel like there would have to be a narrative that springs from them as opposed to like bringing them in.
Here's how you do it, and I dearly hope if you're a writer for Games Workshop, please take this idea. Make an Indiana Jones style character or a Nathan Drake. Be more exciting in this day and age. A Nathan Drake from Uncharted type character, and he's exploring the ruins of all those cultures that rose up and fell before Sigmar came in and restarted culture in his form upon the mortal realms. And he's studying those ruins, and he starts finding traces of the old ones. And it's just him going around to the realms, searching ruins with his elf and dwarf friend, and maybe he has an ogre buddy or something, whatever. And that's where we get hints about old ones. And maybe they helped shape the mortal realms a little bit. And there's different pieces of the great plan, and now the lizardmen can be the ones chasing after them to, like, what do you know? Like, how, be real.
You know who they could have do that?
Aaron Dempsey
Arthur
Downer?
Pencil Dragon.
Arthur Pencil Dragon, yep.
No. Arthur, that's too close. Larthel.
Larthel Pencil Dragon.
Larthel Pencil Dragon.
Okay. All right. Well, now we're going to end with the greatest pantheon, the Elven pantheon.
We covered.
No, we didn't. I just said their name a lot because I kept screwing up. because it was a very low key day. Like I'm it wasn't a bad day, but like I'm like low key like mentally like foggy today, and so
Yeah.
I chose a good day to talk about this intricate stuff, I guess.
Learn the name of 100 people that never existed.
I know most of the elf ones, and I know the core ones, but so what's interesting about the elves is they have two different, like if you ever see like everyone's probably seen the pictures. If not, essentially there's a circle for their pantheon, and like there's rows on the outside ring, there's a rows on the inside ring, and there's a dead center. The dead center is the core god for that, and that depends on essentially which. Are you a high elf? Are you a dark elf? Are you a wood elf? Asurian is the creator god for the elves. The high elves worship him fully, but the wood elves put other things in his place. And then one is the was it I get these names right here because like these names actually don't always stick in my head. The Synthari, which is the gods of the underworld, and then there's the Kadai, the gods of the heavens. So. And that's based upon the rings. The inside rings were the heavens. The outside rings were the underworld one. Some of the main ones you have here, obviously Asurian. He's, as a high elf player, he was the main guy. He's the flame of Asurian. The Phoenix King walks through his flame, all that sort of stuff. There's Hoeth, goddess, the god of knowledge for the high elves. There's the White Tower of Hoeth. That's why there's all the mages go there. Isha, goddess of fertility, nature, harvest, all that sort of stuff. Kurnos, god of the hunt. And it goes on and on. Obviously, Lilith, she'd be another very big one because she's the Lady of the Lake, and she's also the one that Teclis worshipped the most, and she was also very prevalent during the end times. She actually sacrificed her own being to fuel the spell that transported almost every army to the final fight through Teclis, which, imagine this. Imagine you're Teclis. You're working with your god to save the world. Things are getting rough. Things are getting real rough.
Yeah. We're not in a good way whenever you're working hand in hand with the person you worship.
Yeah, all right, Teclis. And Teclis, you have ripped apart, with the help of the greatest mage, Kalidor, Dragon Tamer, the great work that kept your island afloat. So you've destroyed your island. Your whole culture's in a mix, but you're still trying to save this planet. Okay, things are still going awry, even though you literally have the power of gods gifted to, like, you gave it to different people across the planet. You have one in your staff, but you still refuse to be a god, but you're literally holding the power of a god. Okay, it's getting bad. You need to channel this spell, but you don't have enough power. Here's a dagger. Literally forced to stab his goddess in the heart as her power drains out into him so he can cast this spell. He still almost screws up. Thankfully, Sigmar was there to help him. Sigmar's like, I've dealt with god power for a while. Man, sorry. That's just like, when people like get poo-poo on Teclis for the end times, go fuck yourself. But, okay, other names? Ladriel, goddess of mist travelers. Loic, if you're a 40k fan, you probably know him. He's the tricksy god. And then there's Vol. He's the smith. He's the artificer. He's the god of that. And then that's
where does Cain fit in?
So Cain's technically, he's one of the on the underworlds, but like I say, it's interesting because like Cain, the Dark Elves put him center where Asurian's at because they worship Cain, the bloody-handed god, the murder god.
Who did he murder to get that title?
Well, he's
Paul the Unmurderable.
Let me see, because did he? I mean,
that'd be a feat. That'd be a feat right there.
Kayla Mensha Cain. I love that full name. Who did he kill? Maybe he just loves murder. I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like you got to get a good one, like a real good one. Maybe it was Asurian. Oh shit!
No, he didn't kill Asurian. It's actually really interesting because like he did a lot. Like I might do a whole episode on Cain now because like I want to go dive into it, but anyway, and then there's trying trying to think of some other ones. Oh, the other one, the new god that has re-emerged in the Age of Sigmar, Moray Hague.
Yeah.
So she was technically unaligned in a weird way. She was just an elf god. She's can be aligned to either, essentially, the way she worked, or she can be like, I think the wood elves just toss her out almost, and the dark elves are like, we like her, and high elves are like, we like her enough because she'll maybe save us from Slaanesh. But yeah, and then there's another major one, especially for the dark elves, would be Hecate, the goddess of dark magic specifically. But what's interesting about the elf gods structure is because as we went through the end times, especially during the end times Cain book, the elf mythology is how it's everything that goes on is just a large cycle. Like you could think of the snake eating its own tail type thing. It just keeps going and going and going.
Ouroboros.
Yes, thank you. So what's fascinating about it is we've seen it, at least through the elf stuff we have on Age of Sigmar, mostly, not completely, but we saw all these avatars appear for all the elf gods. So Kurnos, Elariel, for Isha and all this stuff, Cain, Hecate. Moray Hague was the one that no one really aligned to her, which was also interesting how she's come back then. But you can see how the elves in the old world believe that this was all cyclical, including Marathi, Malarion, Malekith, Tyrion, and Teclis. They were raised on this. They know that. They know the teachings of this being cyclical. And yet they took on the powers of the incarnates during the end times, not because they were trying to become gods, but they were trying to save the world. So flash forward, they're in Age of Sigmar now. They have these god powers. They should still recall that. So they're just like, how's it? Okay, well, is the cycle changed? Is the cycle still growing? Is it? Because eventually, in the old world setting, like the elf gods, they were with the people, and then Cain was causing a fuss of things and was just murdering. He was just murdering elves, and Asuryan's just like, you know what? No one else gets to be with the elves anymore. We're all gone. We're all gonna separate our places. So like that's why the elf gods aren't really there physically all the time like the dwarf ones were. So are we still working our way towards that with the elf pantheon per se? Or I would assume so, because we still have like Mathlan has appeared. He's technically the god of the sea for the elves, and he's technically sort of an aspect roaming around in the Ideneth army with the Eidolons, and then obviously Cain is still around.
I see him with the Ideneth, and they're just like, you're gonna use all that soul, or you're gonna pass that around a little bit, bud?
There you go.
Eyeless elf sitting there with a cup with like a stone in it. Just...
Please give me some. I mean, Marathi technically didn't ascend to become Cain. She just said she had. So can we see a return of Cain? Because his heart still is around. Even Khorne could not destroy the heart, which is pretty impressive. Or will she truly become Cain now? Which would be a real twist, because she didn't want to become Cain. She wanted her son to become Cain, but now he's more Hecate, I would assume, because he's all shadow magic like infused.
Oh.
And she wanted to be Hecate, which it would make sense because it would be the opposite of what both of them wanted, and that's kind of like a fitting thing.
Yes, very poetic.
Yes. And then, but the thing is, with Tyrion and Teclis, they're twins, so their souls are linked. There's no doubt about that. Like, are they like a twin-souled Asuryan type character now,
or a twin-souled comet?
Oh, I doubt that. That'd be
no, that definitely not that.
No,
that doesn't make any sense.
Not at all. But yeah, like I said, this was a bit of a ramble as we're going through this, but like I just hope everyone at least knows like there is so much, and we hardly touched on any of it. There's so much lore of the old gods from Warhammer Fantasy, instead of just my favorite Warhammer Age of Reckoning is Tall's Teeth, was the polite version from what was in the books whenever they wanted to swear, which used to be Tall's Balls. But there's just so much rich lore to look into with these elven gods, dwarf gods, human gods, and just how intertwined it is. And it's also fascinating too, because like, are these gods just different aspects of the same god in some weird way between the humans and the elves, or not? Or are they all actually those gods? Which it feels like more they are actually those gods. And which other ones might have lived? Like we know some for sure. Like Ulrich died, the Leia died, whatever the death one is for the Tomb Kings died. Yeah. Lilith died. Hard. But Kane's around. We don't know what happened with Asurian. We believe Asurian. We believe when Malekith stepped through the flame to become the final Phoenix King, that flame went out. So did the rest of the essence of Asurian, or did he just fully disconnect? That's a kind of an open-ended question you could leave there too.
Your description of while all the elf gods are trying to like do what they can at the end times, and Kane's just sitting there murdering elves.
Yeah,
he feels to me like the Ninja Brian of Ninja Sex Party.
Probably. Well, it's the thing with Kane is, and this is very fitting for Marathi, is he's always selfish. He was.
So he's an elf.
Yes, but like his love made him capture the elf woman he loved. But then they had to break him out, and like there's all these deals and backstabbing, and like they're elves. It's the intrigue at court on a high level. But it's the same, like, which is funny because Tyrion became selfish whenever he took up Widowmaker and became the avatar of Kane during the end times. Like, heck, he was sleeping with Marathi. Like, and he was like, not in the, yeah.
It's weird.
I mean, they're long lived. I guess it's different, but yeah. It's the reason why Illyrio has not forgiven him. He went too far. Even though Illyrio and Marathi do communicate, and like they don't.
I thought you were saying whenever they hooked up.
No, they didn't hook up. But they communicate. They've communicated in Age of Sigmar, and they have worked together on things. Not willingly or happily, but I guess willingly, but not happily. But it's kind of like whenever you're that high school, big dick energy guy walking around, and you date two girls, and then they don't like it, and they become best friends, and they both hate you, and you're just like, oh.
I mean, maybe he can get some pity points whenever he's like, I'm blind now. Oh.
He did that to himself. He's not getting any pity points.
Look, he doesn't have to advertise that part.
Okay, so here's the other thing. A lot of people probably don't know this because they just seem to have dropped this, like, part of the story, and I'm like, I refuse to let, like, they will never forget this, and I hope they bring it back. So, in the early books, when Tyrion decided to walk towards the end of the Realm of Light to find somebody, because he couldn't even find his brother, he went to the edge of the realm, met the essence of light itself, whatever the heck that is, and it blinded him. And it said, okay, but he's still the god of light, so put him back into the center of the realm. He woke up next to his brother Teclis, who's now here, which is pretty cool. And he could see through Teclis's eyes. And I don't think they haven't mentioned that in a long time. I think they're just like, we don't know what to do with this. We're going to drop it. Never let them forget that Tyrion can see through Teclis's eyes now.
Right.
Which has got to be weird.
Well, again, I mean, the last time I was really looking at Lumineth lore was whenever they were talking openly about that, and they were like, okay, well, I can't see, so I'll go. I can't remember. Is it now Malarian or is it now Malekith?
Malekith
was the old.
Malekith is the old.
Malarian,
and to be fair, like, yeah, it was just stolen from Norse mythology, so you can't copyright it. So it's Malarian, which they can copyright now. So. And they've even retconned it in the old world. It says Malarian now in those books, which is like,
wow. Okay, so it didn't change it. Yeah, so like, so you have Malarian that merged with his Shadow Dragon and is now like the king of the Shadow Realm.
Which, do you know what his Shadow Dragon's name was?
Yu-Gi-Oh character.
Do you know his Shadow Dragon's name?
Ballbuster.
Seraphon.
Have to change that. Maybe they could change it to Lizard Man.
They could. That'd be perfect. But yes,
They probably gonna change. Well, first off, I don't think he's I don't think he's around anymore. I think they're now one being.
yeah, they infuse together because,
Yeah.
um, yeah, they're just entwined now, just with shadow magic.
Like I want. So I whether you know.
Yeah, let's
you know,
end it. Let's end this because like everybody go look at more gods for the old stuff. It's great. It's fascinating. Instead of just listening to us ramble about it. But where do you want to see them take the elves? Not the elves. Oh my god, I keep doing it, the gods in Age of Sigmar. Where do you want to see that story arc go?
Like I said, I mean, I want to see. I want to see them, like, whether the book reforms into one book or not. I don't really care about that too much.
You're talking about
But
the
I
dwarves
would like,
specifically for yourself.
right. So again, I'm talking about like I want to see like the lore happen of Grugny reunites the clans, you know, and I'd like to see, you know, whether they want to call it Neo Karak or whatever they want to do with it.
Yeah.
You know, like have like the KO literally like, you know, they actually like have landing pads on these mountains and like, you know, it's you have everyone working together to like a greater goal. And they even talk about like in the Fire Slayer book, they talk about some of the golem kind.
Yeah.
Like have them roll them in, find out who their god is. Maybe they can be buddies with
Sure.
with Grumgy and you know, and like I know they probably wouldn't, but I wouldn't mind if they figure out a way to extract Leia from Nagash.
Yeah, I would like to see a return of all three of them, Grimnir, which can become through Gotrek, even if it's just he's not Grimnir, but he carries his essence in that Master Rune, so
Right.
they just treat him as such. Obviously Grugny, and then yeah, Valea would be nice to come back to. It'd be cool to see.
Yeah. And we get some cool badass female dwarf Valkyrie models.
Oh, that'd be so fucking cool. Can you imagine a combination of female Fire Slayers with KO tech to make wings? Oh,
You know?
that's free, GW. Just take it. Make print money. That's all we're asking you to do. Yeah, that'd be good. And actually, to be fair, that those little story arcs too is why my dwarf armies, which actually they're on the other side now. They used to be right here, but now that's old world high elves and Bretonnians. But I based all my dwarf stuff exactly the same, because just like in the end times, all my dwarfs and elves were based the same because I started mixing them all together because that's how the army worked. I don't expect it to be that intricate, but I was doing allies between those two armies left and right before the new edition got rid of that. But you know, here's what it is. I would like to see a combination of the dwarves. I think that would be the biggest. That could be a really big shakeup to those armies, which are always meh at most. I think
Right.
on the tabletop. Always feel like they don't have enough units. I don't want another KO unit. I don't want another Fire Stars unit. I want to put those two armies together in some unique ways. And that would be more impactful and exciting. And it's just writing a book than anything else.
Yeah, honestly, this I mean, as far as like tabletop exclusive, I would like to see there be a reinvention of, you know, the dwarf mountain holds, and you know, KO and Fire Slayers obviously can remain their own force, but I think it'd be best to have that main force, and then you sprinkle in a little bit of flying and a little bit of Slayer, just like you used to. And I think that's where everything would feel like you finally came home, and everything feels like it would be complete.
Yeah. And even if you had to do it in a way where you reinvented the depossessed models, so you could take all those old sculpts, put them back to old world where you want them to be, and you made a new version of it, which just pull like the new Grombadil model is great. It pulls elements from all dwarf culture. Have something like that, and like, okay, well, this guy has to be like your general or whatever to make it happen. I don't care how you have to do it. It would just be exciting to see
Right.
it on the table and in the lore, and it would be a big shakeup, but it wouldn't change the mortal realms.
Right.
And you could still easily just like, I'm still running a Fire Slayer specific army. Here's my rules for it. Within like, it's like the old Orc and Goblin book, you know, or not Orc and Goblin.
Oh,
Sorry,
absolutely.
the
War Clans.
War Clans, thank you. Yeah, you just have the War Clans version, or you could be the stubborn one who's like, oh, we're not changing, we're just gonna be KO, or we're gonna be Fire Slayers. And it would be perfectly fine. It would be exciting too. I really hope they do that.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, in all honesty, if we could have that happen as a result of the rise of the shit and the Chaos Dwarves, oh, I'd be in heaven. Just like, again, even though I'm not a huge elf player, I do appreciate the Lumineth lore. I really want to see that culmination of the Umberneth.
Yes.
To me, it feels like as soon as we get the Umberneth to manifest, and as soon as we get the Kurnothi to manifest in Sylvaneth, I'd be like, okay, now it's like, all right, Age of Sigmar's now actually begun. You know, now we have all our pieces on the table. Now let's move forward.
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm actually a fan when Malarian comes out, and I hope he brings like some cavalry and some heavy dragon type stuff. But I hope they make a unified book where it's the Daughters of King combined with it.
Yeah,
I just like the Lumineth. Like when Tyrion comes out, he's just going to be part of that book with a few extra new cool units that are just specifically from his. These were with me,
right?
Because then
well, that's one of the things that I was tormenting Neil. I was like, imagine whenever Umberneth come out, it's like Umberneth's never coming out, and I was like, no. Imagine this: they finally have a dual box where they have Malarian and Tyrion coming out at the same time. Malarian with his shadow draconic elves versus Tyrion's angel elves. Ooh, and it's like, I hate you. Don't do this to me.
Yeah, and if they drop those both together, oh boy, that's gonna be expensive. It's an expensive weekend for me when I have to pre-order all that. Because if it's an elf army, I'm going to own it. That's just all there is to it. But yeah, I think it's really funny because like in the old world, the elves being such a separate force but unifying was so satisfying, but the dwarves were rock solid. They were the dwarves. But now those two army races have swapped in Age of Sigmar, where the elves are now, it's so fascinating, and it's like that's the cyclical nature is there in my mind. It's just with all these twists and turns in different directions. So I would like to see the dwarves re-solidify again, quicker though. But anyway, I think we've rambled on enough. It's been a hour and 20-minute show just about for just you and me, Matt.
I mean, we got another hour 40 in me.
I know you do. I'm pooped. But, and my Topo Chico's done. So anyway,
Chico.
I like Topo Chico. You don't like Topo Chico?
It is Topo Chico.
Normally it's from Texas. It's sparkling mineral water, but they have flavor in these ones. You used to be literally only be able to buy them in Texas, and I think maybe New Orleans or something. But so whenever I flew to Dallas, I'd be like, all day, like, let's go.
Nolans.
New Orleans.
Nolans.
Anyway, if you've stuck around this long, thank you so much. Make sure you like and subscribe. Do all those things that are fun and make the channel grow. We're still hoping to eventually get 1,000 subscribers. When we get to 1,000 subscribers, I will buy a brand new camera.
Ooh.
Yeah, one that's actually good. Doesn't cause me problems left and right. No, but seriously, if you are watching this, listening to this, wherever you're at, thank you so much. Please go check out the old lore for the gods of the Warhammer Fantasy setting. Do your own research. Enjoy those little nuances. And if you're an Age of Sigmar player like Matt and I are too, doing that is just going to enhance your love for Age of Sigmar when you see those little things that are being carried through. And it'll give you ideas to go like, ooh, what if they did this? What if they did this? And if you have those ideas, let us know. Or if I got something woefully wrong, keep it to yourself because... No, I'm kidding. You can put it in comments. If there's any corrections, put it in the comments because it helps us all, truthfully. So I do appreciate when people do that if I get something drastically wrong. But anyway, Matt, thank you for filling in for Neil. Actually, you know what? Hold on. Right now. Stall for time for a few seconds here, Matt. I'm going to message Neil and see if he won his game.
So I think the big go-to unit for the dispossessed would be some sort of either like a mechanized ground force, whether it's just a straight up tank or like the hope would be like a golem rider sort of thing where they're like headpiece.
Sure.
And a little mech. Oh man, so we can have mechs in Age of Sigmar. We already have boats.
Can you imagine
Sky
if
boats.
they took rock golems that has KO tech armor on it?
Right?
That'd be good.
Well, now you're basically just going to look like what are they
Say
called?
Conquest. If you say Conquest, I'm ending this episode right now.
Well, Conquest does